silent prayer, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excuse me, Mrs. Franks. Roll call, Mrs. Franks.
Mayor Kendall.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Constantino.
Present.
Councilwoman Lyons.
Present.
Councilwoman Pies.
Present.
Councilwoman Sawicki. Councilwoman Williams.
Present.
Councilman Toussaint.
Present.
Acting City Manager Szymanski.
Here.
City Attorney DeWally.
Here.
I need a motion to excuse.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'll offer the motion to excuse Councilwoman Sawicki.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. I need approval, a motion to approve the minutes from the regular city council meeting, the ordinance committee, and the library board meeting.
Madam Mayor?
Councilwoman Pies?
I will offer the motion to approve the minutes from the regular city council meeting held on October 18th, ordinance committee meeting held on October 13th, and the library board meeting held on September 16th, 2021.
Support.
Support by Councilwoman Lyons. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Public comment on agenda items. One time only, agenda items. Yes, Mr. Callis?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Happy November 1st, even though it's on a Monday. I just had a comment about the budget workshops, please. I recall that we had set up 4 meetings, 2 for the public and 2 only if needed. And I recall at the first workshop, as we were all there until 11:15 on it, I had asked then at the time if I could see, you know, the graphs and numbers that you were looking at. And at that time, I had been advised, because it wasn't concrete, that was why I couldn't see the numbers. So even though we're having a public meeting tonight, I looked back at the last few meetings and I was advised that council decided not to have the second meeting. So when it comes to public comments on the budget, it's kind of hard to ask questions when we don't have the numbers to look at.
Thank you. The entire budget is on the website. Is there anyone else that have any comments on the agenda item? Seeing none? Okay, we have a table and pending item, and I need a motion. Anyone?
Yeah. Madam Mayor? Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I will offer by motion to remove item CM 07-98-21, second reading and adoption, an ordinance to regulate short-term rental properties from tabled and pending items and place under old business 1.
Is there any support?
Support.
Support by,
It's
okay, is there any discussion on this item? No discussion? All right, all in favor of
Aye.
moving this item forward?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now we to F, consent agenda. I need a resolution.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I will
Offer the resolution to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 6.
Support.
Support.
I'm sorry, you said items 1 through
Is there
6?
any discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor? Did you say items 1 through 6?
I didn't understand you.
You said 1 through 6 or 1 through 5?
1 through 6?
Okay.
You have a question?
No.
Okay, is there any discussion further? Okay, roll call vote, Mrs. Franks.
Mayor Pro Tem Costantino.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lyons.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pies.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay. There's no old business, is it?
It's the second reading and adoption.
Okay, so now we're gonna have the second reading and adoption of an ordinance to regulate short-term rental properties. So that's been moved to old business. I need a resolution. John, do you want to read it?
Sure. Mayor and Council, the attached ordinance was brought to you for a second reading at your July 12, 2021 meeting that was subsequently postponed due to the council's request for an ordinance committee meeting to be held in order so that more discussion could be had on this matter. This ordinance will amend the Code of Ordinances to address short-term rental properties, and it provides for specific language identifying standards, registration, and penalties for violating this ordinance. The city attorney has prepared this ordinance. The ordinance committee has approved it after making some technical corrections. The publication requirements for this ordinance have been met, and it is recommended that this ordinance be adopted. Mayor, a resolution is required.
I need a
Madam Mayor?
resolution?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I will offer by resolution to place for second reading and adoption ordinance number 2021-01 entitled the Short-Term Rental Ordinance, and further to direct the city clerk to publish a notice of this in accordance with city charter requirements.
Support.
Support. Is there any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I received a phone call sometime last week from Matt Bach from the Michigan Municipal League, and the short-term rental ordinance kind of took everybody by surprise then. The House was examining it and discussing it that night, and they voted on it. I texted our state rep, Tanisha Yancey, to put in my 2 cents. The House voted on it about 2:30 a.m. and passed revised, they had worked on it to revise some things from their short-term rental ordinance. Anyway, that will go on to the Senate, and if it passes, which we'll hear about very soon, our ordinance will be pretty close to moot. It won't matter. So perhaps we can put out the word, contact your senator. We can get the bill number out there. What it does, it takes away a city's self-determination, if you will. What we put as an ordinance will not matter because the state says it doesn't matter. We have to abide by their law when it comes to housing and the short-term rental of it and the regulation of it. So that's where this stands, just so everyone can understand it, that though we are passing, hopefully passing it here tonight, that how effective it will be, or the efficacy of it, will be determined by the Senate, and that should be coming up pretty soon. Thank you.
Is there any other further discussion? Well, for one thing, if you can contact the governor's office, because she will also have to sign it into law. So if you disagree that we should, or you agree that we should have self-determination when it comes to ordinance that affects your local government, then you should let the governor's office know. Okay. Roll call vote, Mrs. Frank?
Councilwoman Lyons.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pies.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kendall.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costantino.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
All right. So this takes us to new business, and that's the city manager's report.
Okay, item H1, public hearing, 2022 budget. Mayor and council, the public hearing on the 2022 budget has been scheduled. A final copy of the budget is enclosed with your packet. For public hearing, I will give a brief overview of the budget, after which public comment should be invited. For this agenda item only, the standard motions to open and close the public hearing is required. Action on the budget is in the next two agenda items. Mayor, a motion is required to open.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'll offer the motion to open the public hearing on the 2022 budget.
Support.
Support by Mrs. Williams. Okay. It's public, so. Mhm.
Okay, Mayor and council, and to the public, presented as follows is the management's discussion and budget analysis for the city 2022 budget. This budget has been prepared in accordance with all applicable public acts of the state of Michigan, our city charter, and other federal, state, and local regulations. The official budget document presented herein has been supplemented by detailed budget workbooks presented to you under separate cover. The budget begins with the tax levy resolution. When adopted, this will officially enact and establish the millage rates. The City Council is required to establish these levies by separate resolution. Following the tax levy resolution is the budget adoption and appropriation resolution. When approved, this formally enacts and adopts the 2022 budget. Additional information statements are then presented prior to the proposed budget for each of the city's various operating, entrepreneurial, debt, and internal service funds. These statements include the following: tax levy statement, tax rate and revenue comparison, Headley Amendment calculation, millage reduction formula, and statement of indebtedness. A brief narrative of the city's major operating funds are as follows. The general fund. The general fund is our main city operating fund, and it's still a concern for 2022. We are seeing an increase in residential property values, with commercial property tax appeals being somewhat smaller. All COPS grants have expired in 2021, and the city must now assume the full cost of its police officers. The city has made excellent strides in reducing costs associated with health insurance for active employees and future retirees. The city has capped future pension costs for a majority of active employees, but the cost of providing health care and legacy pension expenses continues to represent a major expense that puts a strain on this fund. In spite of financial challenges facing the city, service levels remain high for police, fire, parks, DPW, and other city-provided services. The city has addressed excessive energy costs for its buildings. Improvements made in 2021 that address energy needs of our City Hall building include installing a new roof and boiler. New windows will be installed in 2022 and will further reduce heating and cooling costs in the City Hall building. Our overall taxable value for residential property has increased for this year, and a new development at the Eastland Mall site is scheduled for 2022. This $94.2 million investment will stabilize commercial values in that location, enabling the city to collect taxes and collect a reliable revenue stream in the future. The city had passed a marijuana ordinance in 2021, and a new housing development is scheduled for the closed Popard School building. All of these measures together ensure more jobs for the community with an expanding tax base that should further stabilize the city's revenues. The city will be implementing a Headley tax reduction onto the mills assessed for general operating purposes. Our 2022 budget projects a modest fund balance increase due to the uncertainties associated with COVID-19. The 2022 budget assumes a successful amendment to the Public Act 33 law by our state lawmakers for police and fire services. There will be no reduction in police or fire services provided to residents or businesses in the city of Harper Woods. The city also levies a Public Act 359 millage not to exceed $50,000 to enhance the image of the city through publication and promotional advertising. In 2022, we need to continue to address the reliance of high taxation in our city. A long-term steady decrease of our millage assessment for PA 33 may be possible once reliable revenues materialize from the Eastland development, combined with the commercial ventures of both the new housing prospects at Popard School location and the venture capital investment of the marijuana industry. The city will also construct parks and recreation improvements like new basketball courts in both Johnson and Salter Parks. Resurfaced walkways and exercise paths will be installed in Salter Park, and a 7-foot landscape walkway will be constructed in the new Eastland redevelopment area from Beacon to Kelly area. Our projection is for a fund balance of approximately $2,460,447 for 2022. This amount represents approximately 19.49% of revenues. The city is diligently working to maintain the fund balance to revenue ratio at or beyond 16.67, or 2 months of general operating expenses. Our major and local street funds. There are several new projects planned for 2022. Speed bumps and traffic calming devices will be installed at various street locations throughout the city. Repaving the second half of Beaconsfield Road from Woodland to Vernier will be completed in 2022. Joint seal maintenance will be performed on various streets throughout the city, and spot surface replacement repair work will be prepared on many roads throughout the city. These efforts will extend the life cycle of existing roads. Danbury Lane is scheduled to be repaved in 2022. Moving on to the library fund. The operating funds for the library present no cuts in service. Legacy benefit expenses for the library have increased due to the unfunded cost of its pension alumni and present employees. The library millage will be reduced for 2022 due to the Headley Amendment. Special attention will be given to the restoration efforts of the library's basement area due to extensive damage suffered in the flooding of 2021. Our debt service funds. The millage levy will be reduced from 1.375 mils to 1 mil for the principal, interest, and fees of the 2004 library bond issue. Additionally, the city in 2018 bonded for capital energy improvements. Payments for principal, interest, and fees will be transferred from the general fund to the debt service fund for payment on behalf of principal, interest, and other fees of the capital improvement fund. The storm drain fund. The city council is required to annually establish the stormwater utility rates as part of the city's annual budget process. Due to ongoing litigation and at the recommendation of legal counsel, the city will be assessing at the current status quo rates, in most cases a fee of $210 per household for 2022. The vehicle and equipment fund. We have not budgeted, nor do we expect, any major equipment purchases from this fund in 2022. Costs of maintaining the equipment are on the rise and will need to be evaluated. The fund balance has recovered from a prior deficit and is compliant with regulations prescribed by the state of Michigan. The city plans on using this fund for DPW vehicle purchases in the future and relieving financial pressure from its general fund. The Water and Sewer Fund. The 2022 budget for the Water and Sewer Fund will reflect aggressive cash collections of outstanding water balances for both residential and commercial users. The city will continue to monitor the rates we need to charge residents and commercial users. This budget reflects not only current operation expenses, but includes future enhancements earmarked for sewer repair replacement projects. The city has received a grant of over $300,000 from the state of Michigan in 2020 to replace old and non-working water meters. Due to COVID-19, most of the work has been rescheduled for completion in year 2022. City's Refuse Fund. The city's refuse fund manages the city's rubbish removal services. It is funded by a dedicated property tax millage and refuse collection fees. The refuse fund has budgeted for an increase in fringe benefit allocations due to the MERS increase in pension legacy costs. The refuse fund millage rates will be reduced by the Headley Amendment for 2022. No fee increases will be required for year 2022, but rates will need to be reviewed in future years. Miscellaneous funds. The other funds presented herein are essentially unchanged from prior years. The city has established funds for drug forfeiture, canine, omni, revolving loan, municipal improvement, and OWI funds for 2022 as well. And in summary, you are requested to approve the 2022 budget on an activity basis. Line item details have been provided to you in your budget workbooks for informational purposes only. Adoption on an activity basis allows your management the flexibility to adjust line items as may be necessary from time to time and bring budget amendments to the City Council when practical or necessary. We believe the budget presented herein accurately represents the city's financial position and condition. We hereby submit and recommend your approval of the 2022 budget. John Szymanski, the acting city manager, Maria Naraki, acting finance director.
Great, so it's open for public discussion. Mr. Kerr.
I'm a little bit concerned about the property taxes that will be incurred into 2022 because the rate of inflation is fairly high, so it looks like the property taxes will go up 5%. And this is on top of our already high millage, so this could present quite a hardship for some people. Given that the taxes are already high and now we're going to add probably another 5% on the property taxes. And so I was wondering, are we going to get any funds from the American Rescue Plan? I don't know if the state has the funds or where they are. Apparently they aren't allocating them. It's supposed to alleviate financial stress on some state and local communities, so I don't know if we can anticipate any money from the American Rescue Plan, or have we already received any money from the American Rescue Plan? So I really don't know, but it seems to me that we should be able to reduce some of our millage because of all this money that was given by the federal government supposedly to help out state and local governments. And I know the city of Detroit is getting a substantial sum of money, and I think they've already have it, and they're deciding how to spend it. And so I just wonder why aren't we getting some help in this area? So,
Okay, Mr. Kadat, a couple things. There are Headley rollbacks. Okay, there have been tax cuts. This whole budget is tax cuts.
okay.
And that's in our library fund, our general fund, our refuse fund, debt millage fund. You just heard me recite this. We have received some money, half of the allotment for the ARPA funds. However, there are certain conditions under which they need to be spent. And we are in talks with our auditors, we're in talks with the county government, we're in talks with the state right now as to what projects we can use those for. We have put in requests, very, very specific requests for that money. And we got 1/2 of the allotment this year. We're looking for the other half next year.
Okay. So is this a fairly significant sum of funds, or is it where it could use to be reduced millage further? And
well, they recommend these funds as to be used for one-time expenditures.
okay.
You know, however, we got projects in the community right now. This Eastland development, this is going to take, you know, a year and a half, you know, to get rolling. And once we got a reliable revenue stream coming in, that's going to be the strategy going forward, is to chip away at this millage. But we can't do it all of a sudden. We don't want to lose any police officers. We don't want to lose any firefighters, you know, in the process. So this is going to be a gradual, I want to say, reduction, scaling back of that millage, going from here forward.
Yeah, well, I hope so, because it just looks like everybody's property taxes is going to go up 5% for 2022, and that's the maximum it can go. So I hope we can scale back the millage at the fastest rate possible, I guess is what I'm concerned about. Okay, because the current property taxes in Harper Woods are hurting real estate values. If you purchase a new house or you acquire a home in Harper Woods, not on the home and with a homestead exemption, your property taxes are pretty high. So that's I think housing values would be higher. I'm almost certainly it would be higher if property taxes could be reduced. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cadell. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during this public hearing for the budget? All right. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Madam Mayor,
Yes. Go ahead, Councilwoman Lyons.
I'll offer the motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
Okay, support. Is there any discussion?
yes, Madam Mayor.
Huh?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
okay, I just would like to ask a few questions.
Excuse me?
So I would like to ask a few questions.
We just made the motion to close.
Oh, you just said discussion.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, discuss.
Okay. The property taxes that's going up for the 5%, is that part of the general fund? Was that applied to the general fund?
No, what happens is this: there was a lot of property that was uncapped in the community. There was a lot of home sales. So what happens is all of those properties are blended over the value of the real estate, of the residential and the commercial tracts, and cities cannot charge an increase greater than 5%. It's usually at the rate of inflation, no greater than 5%. This budget takes into consideration the scale back of our millage rates. So our revenue that we're collecting for 2020 is very much going to look like the revenue that we've collected for 2021, 2020. We really have been operating on a very minimal, holding the pace on our expenses, and they're not going to go up that much. No, they're not.
Okay.
It's gonna look very much like it was last year.
Yeah, and that was my second question is, because I see the amount for this year, I was wondering what was it last year?
Yeah, it's pretty much within, you know, I'd say maybe 40, 50, 60,000.
Okay, and I had a few more questions. The PA 359, which is millage rate, I think it's .2179. What is that for?
Okay, that is for promoting the city. That's the revenue that's used to produce the newsletter and publications that promote the city. And that millage can only take in no more than $50,000.
Okay. And my last question did have to do with the American Rescue Plan. So that's not really part of our budget for 2022. That's expected.
Yeah, you can't, it's kind of funny because the federal government will give you the money, but I want to say we haven't got full direction on what to spend it on. And we've been in meetings with the county government. Everybody is taking a consensus as to, you know, what their needs are. We know a big need here in City Hall is to get a generator, one that will power up the city during our power failures. Right now, we have a very, very limited small generator that during power failures, it only powers up the 911 emergency center. We need something that will power up the entire city when the power goes out. And again, there are several other things. You know, we'll be using it for street repairs. We'll be using it for water remediation. There's a whole host of categories, but you have to have permission to be able to use that money. And we want to make sure that we're following the guidelines. And the guidelines are continually being discussed right now.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, is there any further discussion? Okay, this is motion. So all in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, Mayor and Council, item H2, adoption of a tax levy resolution, 2022 budget. Mayor and Council, as noted in the budget message, PA 5 of 1982 as amended, requires the City Council to establish a tax rate to support the budget. That resolution is found on page 1 of the budget document. Mayor, a resolution is required.
Yes.
I would like to offer the resolution that by resolution, we adopt the tax levy resolution set forth on page 1 of the budget document, hereby establishing the following rate for 2022. The general, 19.7091. The general, PA 359, 0.2179. Refuse, 2.5144. Library, 1.8888. Debt, 1.0. Total, 25.3302.
Support.
Support by Councilwoman Lyons. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Pius.
I would like to know how we compare with other cities or other cities about our size
In terms of,
in terms of the tax and
we're high in Wayne County. Definitely, we have high millage rate. We did not fully recover during this last economic recovery because of the non-performance of the real estate at Eastland. So until that gets up and running, and that's, I want to say there's still a lot of moving pieces in that, that'll provide us with a stable growth path going forward so that we can schedule and scale back some of these millages. But we're on the high side, definitely on the high side.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Councilwoman.
Just an observation that we spend more on garbage than we do on our library. It seems backwards. It's just an observation, something to think about.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote, Mrs. Franks?
Councilwoman Pies.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costantino.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lyons.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Mayor and council, item H3, adoption of budget adoption and appropriation resolution 2022 budget. Mayor and council, with all of the public hearing requirements having now been met and the tax levy resolution enacted, the 2022 budget can now be adopted. The adoption and appropriation resolution is found on page 2 of the budget document. It is recommended that this resolution be adopted. Mayor, a resolution is required.
Madam Mayor,
Councilwoman Williams?
I'll offer the resolution to approve the budget adoption and appropriation resolution found on page 2 of the budget document, thereby adopting the 2022 budget as, I missed that last word, my computer just went out. As presented. Thank you.
Okay, support by Councilman Tucson. All right, discussion? Okay. Roll call vote?
Yep.
Mrs. Franks?
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costantino.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lyons.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pies.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay.
Mayor and council, item H4, the 2022 stormwater utility rate resolution. Mayor and council, attached is our calculation worksheet for the proposed residential equivalent unit fee for 2022. You are required to establish this fee as part of the city's annual budget process. This fee is currently $210 per residential equivalent unit. We recommend that the rate remain $210 for 2022. This rate will generate sufficient revenues to cover debt, operating, and maintenance costs associated with our portion of the Milk River drain system. It is recommended that this fee be approved. Mayor, a resolution is required.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman Lyons?
I'll offer the resolution that a rate of $210 per residential equivalent unit will continue and is hereby established for the stormwater utility charge to be billed December 1st, 2021.
Or
Support by Councilwoman Constantino. Discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
just for clarity, could you all explain what the Milk River drain system is? And I know we keep paying it every year, so it's a continuing fund.
Yes,
Continuing
it's
assessment.
what it does is the Milk River drain system, it captures all of our stormwater runoff. It treats that water with the sewage water, and once the water is clear, it discharges it back into the Detroit River. This is a very necessary, but I want to say misunderstood component in the city of Harper Woods. The structure itself is probably the size of Ford Field, the retention basin. And I want to say that this is an ongoing maintenance item, and it ensures that there's clean water coming from this community, because it feeds into the Detroit River, right into the mouth of the Detroit Water Department, the Great Lakes Water Authority, which supplies all the water to, I would want to say, southeastern Michigan. So we don't want to have a situation like Flint develop here. So this is the cost that we have to pay, along with the Grosse Points, along with St. Clair Shores, and the state of Michigan is in on it too. So that's what this fee is used for.
All right, thank you.
You're
Madam
welcome.
Mayor,
Yes,
I have a
Councilwoman Pies?
question. With North Point coming in and part of the development, they'll be putting in water retention systems. How is that going to affect the cost here, and then how will that affect the cost to our residents?
Well, once the retention basins are built at the Eastland property, we certainly will get another study on, the water rates and the amount of water that's being introduced into that system at any given time. And that becomes, part of the whole negotiation process. It certainly will help our position in the city, because all of that impervious land at Eastland, when you'd have a big 100-year rain or a big heavy rain, it drained into our stormwater system all at one time, and it would cause flooding. Now with the retention basins, it's going to be a slow discharge going into the system, and we're assuming it's going to lead to favorable rates for the city. I can't tell you what those rates are going to be until there's a study that takes place.
But at any rate, it should
It's going to
help with
help.
the flooding?
It will help on the rates, because we're not going to be injecting a sudden surge of water at any one given time. It'll be more graduated.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote, Mrs. Franks?
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costantino.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lyons.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pies.
Yes.
And Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, Mayor and Council, item H5, progress payment number 2, final, 2021 pavement joint crack ceiling project number 180-258. Mayor and Council, attached is a letter from our city engineers transmitting progress payment number 2, final, on the 2021 pavement joint crack ceiling project number 180-258. It is recommended that this payment be approved. Mayor, a resolution is required.
I didn't know who was first.
Go ahead.
Resolution to approve payment to Michigan Joint Ceiling Inc. in the amount of $2,500 for progress payment number 2, following the 2021 pavement joint crack ceiling project number 180-258.
Support.
Okay, both of y'all support, right? Okay. Take your choice, Mrs. Franks.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Okay, is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, roll call vote, Mrs. Franks.
Okay, Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Costantino.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lyons.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pies.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, item H6, Beaconsfield resurfacing project progress payment. Mayor and Council, attached is a memorandum from the Superintendent of Public Works transmitting an invoice from the Michigan Department of Transportation for the city's portion of the Beaconsfield resurfacing project. As you recall, this MDOT project required a match from the city, and this invoice represents a portion of that cost. I have reviewed this and concur with his recommendation that this invoice be approved. Mayor, a resolution is required.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'll offer by resolution to approve the payment to the Michigan Department of Transportation in the amount of $7,325.75 for the city's proportionate share of the Beaconsfield resurfacing project.
Support.
Support by Mrs. Constantino. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Okay, so the portion that we're paying now, this is for this year, and then next year, we're going to have to do the same thing when they start resurfacing the rest of Beaconsfield.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So it's, so this 7,000, this was our only one payment, or is this our last payment for this portion?
This is a portion of the cost. I don't believe there's never really I don't want to say there's never really a last little payment, but this, as they get smaller and smaller, they get scaled down. So I would ask Bill Schneider. Bill?
Yeah, you know what, that payment, I'm sorry, Mayor and Council, that payment is to MDOT And that's for the portion of the Beacon Steel project that isn't covered under the funding, the MDOT funds that we received. And John is right, that is dwindling down, and they will be smaller increments going forward. And to your point, with the second phase of Beacon Steel from Woodland to Bernier Road, there's going to be consequently an uptick in payments that are going to be made going forward that are not covered under the funding from MDOT for that portion of the project. I believe it's $1,385,000 approximately, and they are going to pay for about 85% of that, I believe.
Yes.
So that the portion that will be on the books, so to speak.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, Ms. Franks.
Mayor Pro Tem Costantino.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lyons.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pies.
Yes.
Councilman Tucson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Kindle.
Yes.
Resolution passes.
All right.
Mayor, that concludes the city manager's reports.
All right, so we move on to item I, call to audience, one time only, and 3 minutes or less. Anyone wants to go first? Mr. Kadar?
I just want to point out that DTE Energy is again charging citizens of Harper Woods and other suburban communities a fee called TRM, Transitional Recovery Mechanism, which is being used to underwrite DTE Energy's takeover of the Detroit Public Lighting Commission. So it would be really nice if we could get some money for our public lighting. And I know we've had controversy with DTE Energy about when LED street lights were installed, they wanted to increase our rates. And so why is it that I think we should all complain to the Michigan Public Service Commission. Now, they've put this fee on before, and they've taken it off, and now they've reinstated it for 3 months. So it would be nice if we could have these funds that our residents are paying to DTE Energy be used in Harper Woods instead of going for the Detroit Public Lighting Commission, of which we have, we had no control, and it was not part of our city operations. So the citizens of suburban communities, including Harper Woods, are being asked to underwrite DTE Energy's takeover and assumption of the operation of the previous Detroit Public Lighting Commission, I think is really kind of unfair. So I think we should all protest to the Public Lighting Commission, and if they want to have these funds, let them transfer them to Harper Woods,
Right.
so we could use them.
Right.
Okay, thank
I
you.
agree. Thank you. Mr. Szymanski, we'll look into it. Is there anyone else that have something you want to discuss? Yes.
I'm Lynn Campbell, and I live on Ross Common, and I would like to know who requested the takedown of the decorations on, at the Harper Woods signs.
I did.
You did?
Yes.
And the reasoning would be?
Because they were not authorized. That property is MDOT's property. I want to say if somebody were to slip, fall, cause an accident, and by somebody just, I want to say decorating, changing things, they had no permission to be there, and that's not something that we encourage in the city. We could be held liable for that.
So we just leave it bare instead of looking like Grosse Pointe where we would look nicer?
Well, there's a procedure for that. There's a beautification commission, and that's the proper way of doing it. It's chartered through the city charter. If that was a planned project, that's the commission that you go through to make those improvements, and they know what to do within the city. But there was nobody that called me up on that, was not contacted. whatsoever. And again, we don't encourage anybody to act on their own. I mean, that's, you know, people could get hurt putting those things up. They could have caused an accident. A whole host of things could come. And I'm not saying that that was caused from that, but I had that taken down. Yes, that was.
I just think it's a shame that we did that to the Tebrons who have walked up and down Beaconsfield and cleaned up our city along with other residents, and I feel it was disrespectful to them as a resident just to, I mean, I think everybody knows who put it up. I think they could have been contacted to come get their items that they donated. And I think it's an embarrassment. I really do, that we can't beautify this city. I've lived here all my life, and the way it looks right now, I think we're a disgrace. And I just don't understand why we don't want to make it better. And that's all I have to say.
Is there anyone else? Yes.
My name is Janetta Tabron. We're the ones, me and my husband Reginald, along with a couple other residents of Harper Woods, we put the decorations up to kind of beautify the city. We had no knowledge that we weren't supposed to do that. Last year, the same thing were done, but they were not taken down. My thing is, if we were not supposed to put them up, why weren't the decorations brought back to our home? That took time and money. We put our own money towards it. We could have just took them back and put them in our own home. That's my concern.
I believe that they're in the DPW yard, if I'm not mistaken, Bill.
That's correct. We
Yeah.
have their position.
Yeah,
We didn't know who to give it back to.
Yeah, we didn't know who to give anything back to.
There's pictures all over the Harper Woods Facebook pages. I'm sure
That-
somebody knew that
Yeah,
we
but
did
no,
it, and
that anything can be on Facebook, ma'am.
it's the
True.
Harper Woods Facebook
Yeah,
page.
well, that's not Harper Wood, nothing to do with the city.
Okay,
That's,
so-
Harper Woods' Facebook page is run by some residents. It has absolutely nothing to do with city government, absolutely
Okay.
nothing.
I just also want to say, we have been here since 2005. We have been volunteers, we've dedicated our time. We volunteered a lot of our time in Harper Woods High School. We decided to branch out to volunteer for the city. And this is what we get. As long as we were volunteering for the high school and Beacon, there was no problem. As soon as we decide to branch out, there's a problem. My husband, once a week, goes down Beaconsfield with his bag and picks up all the garbage. He does that. He doesn't ask for anything. He takes pride in his city. In the summertime, he does it twice a week. And as soon as we do something, it's, no, you can't do that. So my thing was, somebody could have said something to us, don't do this, or here you go, here are your decorations back. And it was not. It's too late now. We have decided that, maybe we should go back into the schools and volunteer back instead of volunteer for our own city, since we don't know what'll come up next. So I just want to voice my opinion, voice my concern.
Is there anyone else that has something? Okay. Call the council.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor and City Council. Now, I realize there are a lot of non-official Harper Woods groups, many of which our officials are in. For over 2 weeks, 5 times myself, in 2 different groups, asked for volunteers. There's no way this was not known. To continue, There is no ordinance that was stated as the reason why it was done. I searched thoroughly and could not find one. The next excuse we were given was that it would cause a rat problem. Almost every city surrounding us has decorations. And all this was hay and pumpkins. And, you know, all we've heard about is liability this, liability that. But yet, when I ask questions to get answers, I have to fill out an FOIA. And we have been doing this for years. Not a problem. I think we missed COVID year, if that one, and it's just been residents. And as far as permission, we've heard from this council that the NEDC organization, which is now on their own charity funding, was the ones who had to call and ask permission from yourself or the ACM for any ongoing projects. Now, being there were so many pictures plastered in all the groups, which council also saw, 4 days later, it's gone. Now, every single person that was there, which was only 4 of us, Councilwoman Lyons, myself, and the Tabrans, there was no phone call at all. I had to make a phone call this morning, 9 days later, to find out where they were. And, you know, I may be chastised for this, Madam Mayor, but it is well known that both the candidates who helped in that project are not very liked by this council, some of them. And now, I have never disrespected this council, not on Facebook, not in person, never have. And to me, when you've got Grosse Pointe not even a half block away doing it, you have St. Clair Shores doing it. We had no idea that as residents, with nothing written in the books, we had to ask for permission, plain and simple. So that's that on the decorations. There's one thing. I've been here 55 years, okay? And since the day that I turned 18, I have been able to vote in this community. And I have never seen such hate,
Yes,
disrespect.
I know.
And that's amongst candidates and non. Now, I do run a group where we did not disrespect one candidate. We have the same 8 to 10 people who smear, obsess, and go after residents, but we can't do nothing with our police.
You only have 3 minutes,
I know,
Mr. Callis.
but we can't do nothing with our police. The most concerning thing about this is, all along, why isn't it each candidate could have done their own campaign instead of it looking like old versus new? And all I'm asking this council is that you guys didn't even realize, and I've written this, that this community is already divided, and we've got neighbors and candidates dividing it even more.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, you know, you've spoken about it on Facebook in council, you've spoken about the attacks on council, and it continued on Facebook.
That's right.
And it got to the point where some of it's even personal.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
First of all, we moved here in 2005, my wife and I, and this was a dream.
I can't understand you.
This was a dream. We moved here in 2005. It was almost a destiny because I remember as an 8-year-old young man, young boy, driving through Harper Woods, Beaconsfield with my grandparents. And I always wondered why did my grandparents drove me through here. And even then, I realized that my grandparents wanted me to have a dream, a better place to live. And as a little boy, I was amazed how clean and how nice the neighborhood was back then. And I said, wow, I gotta live there. I gotta live there. Unfortunately, my grandfather didn't get a chance to see me move here because he died in '99. But I've always loved Harper Woods. He wrote a song about it. And I do what I do just because I live by this motto. Just do it. No questions asked. Just do it. If I want to clean up the neighborhood, I just do it. Because I had that passion way back then when I was 8. So when you see me out there on Beaconfield, that's a passion. Because I have this image of what society, what Harper Woods looked like back then. And I cannot erase that from my mind. Now, I don't know. I really don't know. I still had a passion, but my passion now is in another direction. I will think about, reevaluate myself and how I was affected by this, but it's going to take a minute because I also got to remember why my grandparent drove me through this city. And I got to take that in consideration more than what politics did. And I just want to say that because I love the city. And I just do it because it's the right thing to do. Now, if I'm being crucified for it, I'm sorry. But I just love the city too much. I got too many people that says, great job, you're doing an excellent job. I didn't have to do it. I didn't. But I know that this city should not be politically punished when we're going through so many different things. And like David said, we're divided. What is the point of punishing someone that just wanted to just do it? That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak before I call the council?
I do.
Yes.
To the mayor,
Mr. Williams?
council members, officials, residents, good evening. My name is Mr. Williams. I'm curious. About 2 months ago, I asked, there is a committee as far as set up to amend the charter. I know there's an election tomorrow. And is there any, I've not heard any report since I mentioned it then of what's going on with it. Has anybody looked into it? Also, I have looked online. I have no way, I checked, I'm unable to pull up a copy of the charter. And I believe you said that it was going to be accessible. You're going to talk to the clerk. Where can I find it? A copy of the charter.
You can Google it. If you
I tried that.
No,
couldn't find
the
it.
library.
The library?
Yeah, the library does.
Or you can
Okay.
stop into City Hall and request to look at it.
Okay, now, is there a report for the committee that was set up for it? Is there any type of report?
The committee has not been reestablished really because we needed a city manager to direct that committee, and we have not had a city manager. John is doing 2 or 3 actually jobs right now. So as soon as we are able to establish the committee with maybe probably within, you know, before the end of the year, we'll reestablish a new committee, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, I have one other question before I sit down. Acting city manager, right?
Yes.
He has to perform the duties of the city manager in his absence, am I correct?
He's still doing his duties.
But as far as overseeing that committee also, right?
Well, yeah, it's to a point. There are some things that were probably mandated that he may have needed to do, and right now, in the city charter part of it, there are things that need to be changed, but it's nothing that needs to be changed right now that is life and death, so to speak, right now. So we need to change some things in the charter, but that committee needs to function up under the city manager to make that happen. Now, for right now, John has been busy with the finances and other everyday today duties. We really have not been able to schedule a time to reestablish that committee, but he says that in a few weeks or so he will be able to navigate through his duties right now, because we have some things that he needs to act, like for the CARES Act and other things that need to be done right now. So once that stuff is done, then he'll be able to direct his energy towards establishing that committee once again.
Now, so it's impossible for the committee to even look at the charter and then bring suggestions to him?
Yes.
But that hasn't been done?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone else? Okay, call the audience and starting with Ms. Williams, Councilwoman Williams.
Good evening, everyone. Tomorrow is an election, very important election. I don't know if many of you had a chance to look at the League of Women Voters. They had a forum, so you can go online and take a look at that, and it has most of the candidates that's running for city council, and there was a forum for the mayor race. It's very informational, and it was put on by the League of Women Voters, and they have YouTube videos. So if you're undecided or on the fence or haven't completely made a decision yet, I encourage you to go to that website, League of Women Voters of Grosse Pointe, and they do have YouTube videos so that you can look at the candidates and listen to their answers to questions, and that may help you decide, who you may want to vote for tomorrow. And every vote really do count. So, take a look at those videos. They're very informational. Thank you.
Councilwoman Pies.
Thank you. I just wanted to report on the Grosse Pointe Animal Adoption Society fundraiser for our canine officer. That was $3,530, and it included $1,000 anonymous donation. So this will all go to our canine officer and our canine program. Also, Mr. Callis mentioned that Councilwoman Lyons was part of the decorations or whatever at the two signs, I guess. So I know Mr. and Mrs. Tabron and others in the community are upset about how this went through and tossing around politics and things like this, but I'm wondering if a city official was a part of this, why didn't that city official come to our DPW or to our acting city manager? And I'm wondering why people are here angry instead of going through the city, through the person that was helping them with it. So I think that needs some kind of an explanation, because I think maybe we could have cut off some of the anger here if we'd, if it had gone through different channels. Excuse me, I'm speaking. So I really wonder about the process of this. And that's what my concern is how this happened and how it got to this point where we have angry people. If it could have started off with, our city manager, our DPW, public safety, somebody in authority, if you will, knowing about this and then being able to see it through so that it wouldn't have come to community upset, or they would have known how to go about doing something like this if they needed to have specifications or if they needed to contact somebody. And so that's what I would like to say about that. Oh, also regarding the charter, I know we've discussed this a lot. I wanted to say that I'm friends with Leslie Herrick, who is a Dearborn City Council person. Hopefully she's still a council person tomorrow after the elections. But I met with her about a week and a half ago at a fundraiser she was having, and there were some other citizens there who are running for a charter commission. So Dearborn is looking to rewrite its charter. And right now they've got a number of people running for election to the charter commission. They've been campaigning since the spring on this. I don't know how many people are being assigned to this, but I think what I can do is talk with her, get some statistics or facts on the procedure that they use and about how much this is costing for them and the timeline on it. And then perhaps at the next meeting I can explain what she's explained to me, and we can get a better idea of how something like this works. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Lyons.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to sort of mention something here that, with regards to the pumpkin decoration, this event or this sort of decoration, this happened last year, and DPW and the Public Safety Department, they were notified, and the same process this year, was they were notified again, and, the weird thing is, nothing happened last year when the city signs were decorated and, when these players were involved. And I have noticed that, with the Beautification Commission, they have said that they are going to postpone any official events until 2022. And so, they don't necessarily work well with any of the folks who have volunteered in the past, for example, last year, to decorate the city signs. And, so it's if I was a rebel to, institute this for the second year in a row and nothing happened last year and no one was upset about it and nothing was removed, then so be it. I suppose I'm seen as a rebel for doing this, for bringing beauty and pride to our community, in a way that was harmless. But DPW was notified. And my second thing is, I just want to say that to echo Councilwoman Williams' sentiments, tomorrow is election day, and it's very important that you as citizens exercise your civic duty. And I just think that it's really important to remember to vote. And on that note, I also have to say that it has been an honor, a pleasure, and distinction to serve as your city council person for the city of Harper Village.
Mr. Williams. I'm sorry, Mr. Williams, wow. Mr. Tucson. Councilwoman Tucson. I'm giving you a new husband down here, I'm sorry.
Well, I want to comment, I'm very happy to say that the field trip that I was organizing, we will officially have it on November the 8th. And this is where I work with the superintendent, high school principal, and civics teacher, and Judge Coleman, to have a field trip there where they have to select some students to come in and look at a few cases, and then they're going to have a Q&A afterward, and The Judge Department, they're gonna be sponsoring the pizza, lunch, and there's gonna be a nice Q&A. So I thought it would be a really nice educational experience for the kids to actually experience our court system, be involved. I'm sure questions are gonna come up to the judge like, why don't you wanna be a judge? You know, tell me some of the qualifications to be a judge. I'm sure all the questions that come up like, well, tell me the difference in the court systems. I see some have juries and sometimes they don't. So I'm looking forward to this really good experience. It's actually a question now on this February 18th. I also want to say, I had a great Halloween, the trick-or-treaters. My street sometimes attracts quite a few, so I had at least 25 kids, or maybe 150. And it all went quite well. And we had good weather last night. It wasn't all raining like Halloween likes to be, and it wasn't too cold. So it was just a wonderful experience. Also, Councilman Williams mentioned that the League of Women Voters also has a forum where we all will ask questions, and you may want to review that. But also the NAACP of North Swain Park was also hosting a forum for all candidates too. So there is some ways you can actually see it individually and how we handle certain challenging questions. The last thing is, I know we keep talking about this chart, but the chart is extremely important. I learned that in the class they sent me to on city planning. It is important, but you know, but the unions override it, but they're requesting certain others. What's more important, I think we need to work on is a business plan. And when we work at the plan in order, then that's going to make us eligible even more grants to do. So I'm pushing more for the plan, but we really do need to accomplish both. And make sure everyone votes. I'm done. Thank you.
Councilwoman Constantino.
Yes, people have been decorating and planting flowers and things for years and years in this city. I remember we used to have a program where you could adopt one of the signs and plant flowers and decorate the sign area. And we never had any issues with liability. I mean, this year is the first time I've heard of all this. And I used to serve on the Beautification Commission, and we never had that level of dominance that is being attributed to them now. If community members wanted to volunteer, we just let them volunteer. This has never been a problem until recently. And I'm not sure why it's a problem or what's behind it, but I think it's completely unnecessary. I'd rather we go back to the way things used to be, and if people wanted to adopt a garden or do some decorating or planting, then let them do it. So we used to have businesses that did it, we had real estate agents that did it, families, all kinds of things. So this problem is new, and I feel like it's political. And we need to just stop it. We need to just stop beating down our volunteers. Our volunteers, it makes me sad that our volunteers, like the Tabrons, who put in their own time and money, are being treated this way. Instead of being treated with the respect and the awe that they deserve. These volunteers should be the pillars of the community. They're the people we should look up to. And I'm just absolutely horrified. If I would have known those decorations were taken down, I would have gone over to DPW and put it back up. In fact, I'm insulted you didn't invite me to come help decorate. I'm always up for some midnight gardening. So, anyway, I do not wish to be grouped in with the naysayers. I think that's counterproductive, and I think, there's laws and things that protect volunteers, and I really think it's unnecessary that all of a sudden, after 60 years, oh, we've got liability. That's ridiculous. So now on to our calendar. Tomorrow, of course, the election. November 15th at the council meeting, we've got our beautification awards. November 17th is the tree lighting ceremony out by the fire department. December 6th at 6 p.m. we had tentatively scheduled an ordinance committee meeting, and hopefully we will keep it on the Monday this time. It's Monday, December 6th, prior to our December 6th council meeting. So I just wanted to give you some dates that were coming up in case you'd like to get involved.
Madam Mayor? Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I would like to follow up with our city attorney. You're here for a reason. Could you address liability issues when procedures that are necessary?
Mayor? Mayor?
Yes.
Yes, it goes beyond liability, which is certainly an issue. We've become a litigious society, unfortunately. Volunteers and people who travel upon public roads merely because they're a volunteer and they're saying they're doing good works, or perhaps they are doing good works, does not necessarily insulate the community. Unfortunately, that's what we have to look at, is protecting the community as a whole, which means liability issues. But it goes beyond the liability issues. That's just one issue. We're going to have a freedom of speech issue. So you put up pumpkins and maybe somebody else comes by and says, I don't like pumpkins, I want something else there. How dare you put up that pagan holiday? Let's, some religious thing. So you're going to have competing interests, and the city is not an arbiter of those interests. As a matter of fact, the Supreme Court, as I'm sure we all know, over and over and over again, has said that the communities cannot condone any sacred type of affirmations whatsoever, however those are viewed. So it becomes only a liability issue, but it becomes an issue of whose decorations do we choose, whose point of view do we choose. So those are just two issues that come off the top of my head, as well as people truly are not allowed to, regardless of what they did in the past, this does not make it correct. I sped yesterday, but I didn't speed today. How come, no, it doesn't matter. It's not a waiver of the law. The law is you can't come upon public property and take it for your own use. As a matter of fact, it can be deemed trespassing.
And just to follow up to that, is this something then that you think would be appropriate to come before an ordinance committee then? Because somebody said they had checked the ordinances and something's not in there, so I'm wondering, is this something that?
I'm sure we already have laws out there.
It's already in the charter.
Yeah, it might not
It
be
is,
interpreted.
it is already, whether
Okay, thank you.
The Beautification Commission is the only group that has been sanctioned by the charter to do any kind of planting, decorating, or whatever on city property. So if you decide that you would like to do something for the city, then you needed to have contacted the city manager, acting city manager, and let him tell you yay or nay, or contact the Beautification Commission. And then together you could have done whatever you needed to do, but they are the ones who have the charge of doing anything with decorating and planting in the city of Harperwood per charter. Now, it's nothing, I think your group has, had the privilege of doing what they wanted to do under the former city manager. And that has caused a problem with the Beautification Commission, because they felt like maybe you guys are feeling, whoever is a part of the beautification group for NEDC, that you don't have a voice anymore. But that's not the real reason. We need to be able to work together, everybody, and all they had to do was contact the president or the acting city manager about what your intentions were. Now, you want to say you want to blame, or you say that, it was political. No, it was not political. It was correct. And that is all we're trying to do, is make sure that you do what is necessary but you do it in the correct way. You would not want me to come in your front yard and pull down a bale of hay or scarecrow or whatever. You go through the proper procedures to do what you need to do. And the proper procedures was not followed. And all I'm saying, that if you wanted to do with it, you needed to have contacted the acting city manager. You just don't decide to do what you want to do and consider yourself a rebel and decide whatever. If there are rules and regulations, that's why we are a city. Otherwise, we would just be an outlaw place. We have rules and regulations that we're supposed to follow. And if you don't choose to follow them, this is what happens. And then people's feelings get hurt. So first of all, from now on, understand, anything goes with planting, anything for the city on city property. You need to check with the acting city manager and the beautification commission. And between the two of you guys, you should be able to work out whatever your differences are. But you don't just decide you're gonna do this without asking permission, because that's just like me coming on your property and decide I wanna plant some tulips in your house, on your lawn. This is a city, and it is ran like a city. And I'm sorry people are upset, but that is because they did not follow the rules. And you didn't know the rules necessarily. But I'm here to let you know, some people knew the rules and decided just to ignore. I am so happy that tomorrow will be the election. And maybe the nastiness, the indecisiveness, the rudeness, the craziness that this whole election has brought out will end. And I hope once again we can all be Harper Woods, as we all decided when we decided to live here, that we wanted to be a nice bed and breakfast type community. We don't have commercials land to make us make a difference here, per se, other than Eastland. Once we get past Eastland, we have very little commercial land. So all that we have is each other as neighbors. And I wish that we would all get back to realizing what we need to do to make this community continue to move forward. Otherwise, a house divided is a house that fails. We need to be able to work together, and that means all of us. Give or take, whoever wins tomorrow, we all need to be able to work together. And I would hope that we would do that. Pasta dinner for the Lions Club. It's November 6th. Please support the Lions Club, because we also are part of the good fellows that we give to needy families throughout this community. So we need your support there. And it will be at the Ambassadors. It's a pick up and go. It's on the billboard. And I think, we definitely would go look into the DTE building, because they've taken it off once and they should take it off again permanently. So that's something, and if we don't get the kind of reaction we want, we all need to contact the Public Commission, Public Service Commission, because that's how you get a reaction from DTE, when they get a word from them. One more thing. We did patrolling, and I say we is because a group of us that's under the police chaplain, we patrolled the city of Harper Woods. I think it's been for the last 6 years, something like that, for the last 6 years. But last night was very quiet, and I was thankful for that. And mainly what we do is keep the traffic flowing so we don't have to call the police. So we try to keep people from double parking and standing in the street and stuff. So maybe next year we'll be able to offer more people to come and volunteer with us to help patrol the city, to make sure that our little trick-or-treaters are safe. They stay on the sidewalk and not dart back and forth across the street. So that's basically what we do in patrolling the city, and I'm thankful to those guys and women that helped us last night. And as the chief can say, we didn't make any major calls yesterday or Friday or Saturday. We always do 2 days, the 30th and the 31st. So I think that. And we also had a family, a group of residents that had a trunk or treat in Salter Park. And they had it decorated so nicely. It was about 12 cars. And they had it decorated so nicely. And it was just a happy event to see all the kids coming over and enjoying themselves. Maybe trunk or treat may be the thing of the future, because people don't want to go door to door anymore. But I saw a lot of kids out. I know someone was saying to me that, you know, my next door neighbor said, did nobody come to her door? And she had, you know, things for the candy. Well, maybe we may have to do a trunk or treat for the city, something of that nature, maybe, whatever. But I'm glad the kids had an opportunity to enjoy Halloween. It gave some semblance of normalcy back to the kids again. So after saying that, I need a motion for adjournment.
I'm gonna adjourn.
Nobody?
Support.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We adjourn. Everybody have a great evening.
You too.